Thanks, Haney. So now we're going to be going to the first debate question, and Greg Civilli took the opening statement first, so it's going to shift over to Nanette. She will be the first person to answer, and then the second question who opens will be John Bowler. So I'll read the first question. Basically, this question has to do, there's a lot happening in Hermosa Beach right now. You know, we have we're going to be doing a general plan update, and as part of that, there's a strategic plan for the economic development of the Civic Center, which is the right here. We're at the City Hall and City Council chambers, and also downtown opportunity site. So the candidates had web links to go to on the city website, and so the first part of it deals with the strategic development, strategic economic development for the downtown, and the next one had to do with there's also public comments that have come in and community dialogue, and that is kind of a process that's happening. So with all that happening, here's the first question for Nanette. What is your vision for economic development in Hermosa Beach, in the Hermosa Beach downtown and Civic Center? Nanette?
So in my daily practice, I am an attorney. I counsel businesses all day long. I want to use my business experience to attract and retain quality businesses here. Now, we're talking about our downtown, and I think I'm an advocate for economic development, but on a human scale, for things that are going to fit our beach community here. And we need to ask ourselves what we want. I've been knocking on doors and talking to residents, and they would like to see more family-friendly activities downtown. But that's going to first require cleaning up the downtown area, making it more safe so we can feel like we can take our families and our children downtown again. So I think that's the first step. We also need to look, and before we do anything else, we need to get back to the basics, to the nuts and the bolts, and repaving our streets and fixing our sewage systems. I mean, these are basic important things that we need to do here. The question also relates to the downtown and the Civic Center, but I think we need to look at Hermosa Beach as a whole and include all of Hermosa Beach, not just the downtown area. So those are the things that I think that we need to focus on. There's no doubt that economic development will be very important to finding an alternative source of revenue here when we vote no on oil, or rather if the voters decide to vote no on oil.
You could summarize. Oh, that's it? Okay. Thanks, Nanette. John?
Thank you. I think the best approach for economic development in both the downtown and development of these two projects up here is going to be a multifaceted approach that involves all the major stakeholders, including business owners, property owners, city officials, developers, citizens, and any other stakeholders. We need to get everybody's voices in that. Right now we have three key properties in the downtown that are coming into various stages of play. The Mermaid Project, as most of you know, the Sea Spike properties, and Scotty's properties are all in various stages of play and maybe coming in. Now, those are all going to form the gateway, basically, on the western end of Hermosa. That is going to create the look that everybody sees for Hermosa. So those are key development issues. In terms of the Civic Center and the Civic Center and the Community Center, I don't know how much planning we can do. The reason is that until this oil issue is resolved, we have no idea what our finances are going to look like. They are going to be extremes on one end or the other. Now, it is going to be up to the citizens to decide that, but understand, on one hand, there is the potential of a lot of income, on the other, there is the potential of having to pay off the settlement. So it's impossible to say what we're going to do with this city until that issue is resolved. So I think that my job up here will be to make sure that everybody has all the solid information they need, objective, unbiased information to make those critical decisions, because they are going to impact every part of Hermosa for the next 30 years.
You can summarize, John?
Consider it summarized.
Thanks. Thanks, John. Jeff?
Thank you, Al. I guess I'd preface this by saying I know there's already been some discussion of the oil issue tonight, and there'll be more as we go on here tonight. But I think there are some other issues here, and we're touching on one now, that are maybe in some ways maybe more important for us to consider when we look at your choices up here for City Council. I can't imagine, as somebody who's in this town a long time, I can't imagine a more critical time in the city of Hermosa Beach, and you're talking about a council majority that you're putting into position to make decisions that unlike oil, a decision you will make, decisions that a city council body will make. And certainly that's the case with downtown. And as a developed city, it's always been an issue with us about density and scale. This is not a new issue, but I want you to imagine for a second the 45-foot pavilion building up on PCH, which was built, by the way, on an old standard that was later scaled back in the city. And imagine that building along the Strand, imagine that along the plaza, imagine that running the length of Hermosa Avenue. That's what we're being faced with now in terms of the downtown plan and the committee that is now working down there that is being chaired by Councilmember DiVirgilio and Bobco.
You can summarize, Jeff.
I'm just saying this is important, these issues, and that is a pivotal issue, and the choices you make are going to be critical. So I ask you to please be sure not only that you vote, make sure that your neighbors and your friends vote as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Carolyn?
All right. Well, we have opportunities along the Strand. I think people are aware that the Mermaid properties have been sold. And there's the possibility that we will have a high-end hotel that will go in there. We have another hotel that we'll be locating soon. This is good because this brings TOT revenues to our town. It brings daytime business. Daytime business brings more money. We want that. I think that's what everybody wants. So we need to encourage that kind of growth. When we talk about the Civic Center and the Community Center, it's been discussed that there's a possibility that we could move the library from over here to the Community Center. That would be terrific. I don't know how many people go to the library. It is packed with people. It services residents, it services children. If that's an opportunity, that's a good thing for us. So we talk a lot about the downtown. I think in terms of a vision for the downtown, we want to move towards daytime activity. And that's something that hotels can do. And as properties turn over, that's all good.
Thanks, Carolyn. Haney?
Thanks, Al. Before I get this other question, one issue that came up in the last question I want to highlight briefly regarding the kids in the school district. I just want to point out to the audience and people that are watching this on TV that my wife and I were raised in Christian schools growing up, and we made a decision for our kids that we want them to be raised in Christian schools. So I don't want to, that our decision for kids to be raised in Christian schools in the community to be taken as me thinking that our schools are not good enough. I think our schools are great, and I think the importance of our schools are very important to the community, and I'm a big supporter of the schools. My wife and I just made a personal decision to have our kids grow in Christian schools instead. To answer the question regarding the economic development in the downtown area, Al, I think the Roma Design Group started this process, and I looked at some of the material that they put together and attended the city council meetings that they addressed. And I think they have some really good ideas, and they've solicited some input from people. My ideas about some of the things that they've suggested that I like and I agree with. They suggested a gateway arches to be at the 10th Street and the 14th Street corners of Hermosa Avenue, and basically give people driving in or walking in or taking a bike in basically the brand of Hermosa Beach that you're getting into the Hermosa Beach downtown area. They also have the idea of basically reducing the amount of bars in the downtown area and turning it more into or having more inviting to family-friendly restaurants or cafes or casual places. They also suggested more bike racks in the downtown area so people can take their bikes into the downtown instead of driving. They also suggested having a diagonal parking on Hermosa Avenue. And they've compared with other examples, and they think that using diagonal parking on just one side of Hermosa Avenue would potentially increase the parking by 30 spots in downtown, which is obviously all of us know we need it. So I think that's a great idea.
You can summarize, Haney.
Okay. And increasing sidewalks. And having applying additional solar power and sustainable innovations into the downtown area. And then the last thing, and that's my own addition to it that's not proposed in the Roma design, is adding security cameras in our town. I think the safety in downtown is an issue that's been raised several times, and it's just beyond me that our downtown area, how busy it is and crazy it gets on the weekends, that we do not have security cameras, so when something happens downtown, that we have no way to find out what happened, how it happened, and have a record of it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Haney. Greg?
Well, thank you. I just want to start by saying I think it's a good start that we have a plan and we're headed in that direction. As one of the residents of this community, what my concern most of the time is that You aren't asked first. The ideas come from consultants, the ideas come from council members. Some of them are good, and obviously they're residents, but some of them haven't been vetted amongst the residents of Hermosa Beach. And what I believe should happen as a continuation of the process that has begun is that the residents should be asked, what do they want in the community? And they should be asked in a way that it's open-ended, not steered. As some of you saw in a recent survey, some of our answers were steered. And I don't think of the 8 questions that they offered on one of the surveys that I wanted any of those, but it told me to rate 1 to 8 what I wanted, and so I don't think that should be done. It wasn't related to the downtown project, but it was related to overall city needs. But what we want to pick are things that are good for Hermosa Beach. What is it that you use every day or need every day in Hermosa Beach so you can stay and shop in Hermosa Beach? We need to understand that the businesses can support other businesses. So what are like businesses? What serves other businesses to keep the synergy in the community? And we need to consider what businesses will bring into the community. For example, there's some talk about it's nice to have fast food kiosks or thing on the beach, but we also need to consider the waste that it's going to bring and balance to the quick service for people that want to enjoy our beach and be able to run and get a soda and get a sandwich and have a good time on the beach. And we need to balance those issues, so, fast food versus easy access for beachgoers. So again, I just would like to say that we need to get a group together that will talk about all of this, bring in the business, bring in partner with the chamber, partner with the business community, partner with the residents, and partner with the users, the end users, that's us, and determine what's best for Hermosa Beach, and not necessarily just follow a plan because somebody wrote it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Greg.